30 years, he worked the night shift out of a taxi company near Sapporo Station. And in 30 years, he never once let the fuel gauge drop below a quarter tank before a shift. A habit from his father that outlived the reason for it. New Year's Eve. The road salted twice already. He took a fare out to Okadama and found a woman standing alone outside the terminal. A coat too thin for the weather, a leather case at her feet, and a smell that reached him before she said a word. Jasmine, sweet, completely wrong for a Hokkaido winter, as if she'd brought a different season in with her. She gave him an address that wasn't really an address, a junction, a landmark, the name of a road he had never once logged. In 30 years of logging every road he drove. He didn't say so. He drove. 10 minutes passed where the last streetlight thinned into dark. He stopped recognizing the shape of the land, which shouldn't have been possible on roads he'd learned before she was born. And somewhere in that not recognizing, he stopped being bothered by it, the way a person stops noticing a smell in a room they've been sitting in too long. 50 minutes out, the trees opened onto a resort he had never once heard of. Low, modern, glass-fronted, every window on every floor lit gold against the snow, and not a single car in the car park. She paid in exact change, thanked him without giving a name, and walked in through doors that opened for her before she reached them. He watched the doors close. He waited 40 minutes with the meter off and the engine idling, watching the lights, because leaving felt worse than staying, and he couldn't have told you why. He drove home a little after 2 and thought no more of it until the next evening, cleaning the back seat before his shift, when his hand found a wristwatch wedged into the seam of the upholstery. Quote, gold, a hairline scratch across the crystal, stopped at 12 exactly. He handed it in at the depot lost and found, out of 30 years of habit, and thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't the end of it. 3 weeks later, on his day off, in daylight, he drove that same road again, meaning to see the resort properly, this time, and return the watch. He found the junction. He found the road. He drove it slower than he had ever driven anything in his life, watching every turn. And at 50 minutes, there were only trees, and past the trees, more trees, and a service road that dead-ended at a locked forestry gate. Standing there, the sign said, since 1974. He went back 6 more times that winter, and nearly every New Year's Eve for the better part of a decade, always the same route, always hoping for a fare he never got again. He asked the older drivers at the depot, men who had driven those roads longer than he had, and none of them had heard of a resort out that way, glass-fronted or otherwise, though one of them, close to retirement, went quiet for a moment, and said only that the North roads had always taken more than they gave back, and left it there, the way men his age leave things there. Somewhere around year 8, he stopped looking, not because he found an answer, because he noticed, one January, that he had stopped expecting one. He still has the watch. The depot never found an owner, and after a year unclaimed, it came back to him, the way small, useless things do. He keeps it in the glove box and not the house, because it never felt like something that belonged indoors. On quiet nights, stopped at a light, he takes it out and winds it, out of the same habit that once told him never to let the tank run low. And every time, without fail, however carefully he winds it, it stops again at 12. It still carries a trace of jasmine too, faint, when he holds it close. Though after 10 winters in a glove box, it should smell like nothing at all. Like vinyl, like cold metal. He has mostly stopped wondering why it doesn't. He has never had it looked at. He isn't sure he wants to know if it's the watch that's broken.